10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the ESL One Frankfurt North American Qualifiers. We're going to be taking a look at game number 3 between Shazam and EverNovaS. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by the Wonder Cow. Sir, we've had 2 pretty ridiculous games that have gone on so far, and I'm curious to see what ends up happening in game number 3. Any thoughts right off the bat? And by the way, we did adjust your microphone so you'd be a little bit louder. All you people in Twitch chat, let me know if it sounds good this time around.
So, I will point to the fact that
Reserve time.
both times the team that ran a pushing-oriented strategy won, right? Both teams, both drafts that were able to get off the ground faster and maintain pressure were the drafts that came out ahead so far between these teams. What that implies to me is that neither of these teams is quite to the point where they are comfortable defending high ground or defending objectives from behind, which is obviously one of the more difficult things to master at a professional level as a team. It requires immense communication, fantastic understanding of positioning, a little bit of luck, and sometimes your opponents need to throw you a bone as well. But we see, like, Nature's Prophet Beastmaster already being banned out. Both teams seem to be aware of this advantage. So maybe we're going to see more team fighting oriented lineups because neither team able to get enough push. Maybe not.
Well, and you talk about the sort of capability of having a team fight lineup and also having a little bit of that push. That's Invoker. He does a little bit of everything. That hero that we all love to play against, and we've got a good chance at being able to experience that throughout the past couple of months in this patch. But yeah, it's a pretty strong hero here. It was banned out, I believe, in both of the previous games, at least the first one for sure. And this was because Shazam had first pick this time, and they opted to ban out the Beastmaster, leaving that one for themselves.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little surprised that EverNovaS didn't have any interest in getting rid of it, but they are going to run the Death Prophet again, so they will match out with some push of their own. Neither team really seeming willing to give that up. They've already setting up for the Wombo, man.
Yeah, this is some strong stuff coming out right off the bat. And, the thing that I love about this is you basically get Roshan when you want it. Like, that's to me what this type of start of your draft tells me, is that, like, you pop your DP ulti, you walk in with Tidehunter, you cannot come and contest that, really, if you're Shazam. It's so difficult. Invoker is a good start to it, but honestly, I just feel like it's so hard to try and walk into Rosh and deal with it when Ravage is online, because when that ability comes online, it's just it's the biggest thing in the game. Basically, it's the most effective spell at being able to zone people out.
Yeah, there's not a lot that you can do into it, and because it's not channeling as opposed to something like a black hole, which has a similar sort of impact, there's no real incentive to move into it basically ever, because you're guaranteed not to cancel it out. Darkseer is going to be there, so for Shazam, they will be able to collapse into AoEs, especially once Invoker starts to get some levels of Wex and gets up some of his own AoE control spells. But like you'd mentioned, that Tidehunter is a big deterrent for potential team fights, as long as that Ravage is up.
Well, and there, the Darkseer's there. It does feel like it's going to be relatively strong. One thing that I'm kind of curious about at this stage is, if you're EverNovaS, do you just try and pick up the Oracle at this stage? That does feel like it might be a pretty strong hero to combo in there together. There's other very strong heroes that you can put together against the Darkseer. I think the classic one before Oracle ended up being brought into Captain's mode was a Disruptor, to be able to pull him back into lane. And if you end up comboing that together with a couple of other strong supports and a carry, you can be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, really, any combination of supports or carries that have 2 stuns should be enough to handle a Darkseer. 1 stun, not usually enough because of the surge. 2 stuns will give you enough time in order to collapse on them in lane, and also you don't have to necessarily draft an entire hero just to count them out. I do think a Disruptor would be a good pick here, though, Not just because of the glimpse back and the potential of the kinetic wall on the Darkseer in lane, but also because it pairs very well up against a team that is clearly going to be contesting in the AoE field. This looks like very similar style strategies that we've seen coming out from both teams, both games. A little bit of push, a little bit of AoE to different degrees of balance. Not a lot of individual pick and push.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and I like also this Juggernaut ban here. It feels like it's another one of
5
those
seconds remaining.
strong team fighty type of carries that you can throw out there. If you have the Darkseer Ion Shell on top of them,
Reserve
all of a
time.
sudden you've got like the massive damage from the Blade Fury plus, what is it, 90 damage per second? When you end up getting a level 4 Ion Shell, whoever you end up staying next to is just going to get evaporated.
Absolutely.
So I think that maybe even thinking about going for another hero like that, I think the classic one that we saw before was like Slark is one that you can put on there, as well as an Ember Spirit is pretty good too.
Radiant
Yeah, I think
team
for
battle.
EverNovaS right now, I don't see a reason for them to not run a gyrocopter, right? They have some space creators, they've got some good counter initiation. It pairs well with the Death Prophet and the Tide Hunter. For Shazam, in terms of heroes
10
that they're
seconds
more
remaining.
likely to play, maybe a Sven could come out here.
5
We've been
seconds
talking about the
remaining.
Sven all day, but he is reliably popular, right? He's not
Reserve
the
time.
most popular hero in the pool, but he's up there.
I would agree, and it's one of those, another AoE strong stun. It fits in with the dynamic of their draft, where you have so many different types of initiation that you can have here. I'm kind of curious if at this point we're going to see EverNovaS just go back for like an Enigma afterwards. I feel like that could be a pretty strong move where Shazam don't have a great answer to it if they wanted to, since they're going to have the third pick here.
Yeah, that would be greedier, in that it would mean that the Darkseer is not going to get zoned out of lane, almost certainly. You usually need 2 supports in order to reliably zone a Darkseer out, or a really, really good zoning range carry, right? So in terms of grabbing that black hole, basically, is what you'd be getting that for. It would be great in the mid game, but the question is, does it weaken your lanes too much, as we saw earlier today, to the point where every other lane is benefiting for the lack of rotations because the Enigma's not able to rotate as effectively as a true support.
Yeah, it's true. It would come at a cost, and it's sort of one of those things where you have to debate that in your head. We are running down pretty low on the reserve time for only the second stage of bans on the side of EverNovaS. Just make sure that we didn't DC and say we're going to remake. No, we're all good. They're just taking their time. 10 seconds left. I hope they get a ban out. That'd be kind of
5
unfortunate if they
seconds
didn't.
remaining.
I think
But-
what they're considering here is if they don't ban the Sven, is Shazam gonna just grab it, right?
Radiant
That's
team
the question. So they're gonna get rid of the Lone Druid. That's weird. I mean, Lone Druid does sometimes get played in a farming carry role, but TC's done that twice in the last 25 games, so it's not completely unheard of.
Interesting.
Shazam did, by the way, ban out that gyrocopter, so seeing that phoned in a little bit in advance, the same way that we did.
Yeah. It feels like that's definitely one of the
10
weird
seconds
picks, and
remaining.
if Shazam do end up going back, they pick up a
Team
Bane.
Bane's
I-
good against Darkseer
yeah.
in lane.
Yeah.
Right. Gives you a lot of setup potential. I don't really love the Bane into this lineup for the mid game, though. There's a lot of ways to cancel script here available already. Probably a Cyclone Staff coming out on the Invoker, a Cold Snap, a Vacuum, but it is a deterrent against kiteable
10
carries,
seconds
right?
remaining.
And Sven is a kiteable carry, so if EverNovaS are worried about that to come out from Shazam, the Bane could be. And now another
Radiant
like
team
billion
pick.
ways to cancel that coming out of the Earth Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a hero that just went right through the pool. Man, that is okay, so you've got a vacuum into Boulder Smash as well as Invoker combos and Magnetize. This is wow, that could be really, really rough if EverNovaS don't end up being able to sort of silence out or deal with that
10
Darkseer at the start of the fight.
remaining.
Yeah, I'm A, surprised Earth Spirit made it
5
this far into
seconds
the draft,
remaining.
and B, now that it's come to my attention that Earth Spirit did make it this far into the draft, I'm really surprised that
Dire
Bane was
team
picked up with Earth Spirit still available, especially with the vacuum combination with the Magnetize, as you mentioned.
And they're going to go back for the Vengeful Spirit now. So it looks like their main goal right here is to probably try and shut down that Dark Seer in lane. Is there any chance at all that we pull a 6.85 and see the Vengeful Spirit in that carry role?
I think it's really unlikely.
Okay.
They would be ceding
10
so
seconds
much
remaining.
late game. That Vengeful Spirit does not go into a
5
core
seconds
1
remaining.
position the way that other core 1s do. And with the Death Prophet as a mid, she does go into the late game
Reserve
pretty
time.
well as a core, but nowhere near as well as something like an Anti-Mage or a Juggernaut or a Sven would, right? So they would basically be saying, we are okay losing the game if we don't take major advantage in at least one side by 25.
Well, and it's worth noting too that it's down to the wire at this point. You've got these teams that have been able to work their way through the qualifiers. Some of them ended up getting invited. They've been able to make it now into the quarterfinals. The next stage is semis, and then they're going to end up getting potentially invited to this tournament now. It's a proving ground for them. This is also one of the matchups that I feel like we're going to end up seeing come in hot contention in the qualifiers for the Manila Major. You're looking at two lineups that are probably on the outside looking in of the direct invites, obviously, but are going to be
10
there
seconds
and
remaining.
contending for that last spot. So I want to see what they're capable of doing. Spectre is the 4th pick for Shazam. EverNovaS, do they just go for like an all-out push strat here?
They've pretty much got to at this point, right? They don't go late like the Spectre does. I don't know that they want to try and contest at a Spectre and Boker late game if Death Prophet's going to be their mid.
Remaining.
If they don't go into the push strategy,
5
the Vengeful
seconds
Spirit,
remaining.
although she is the most picked hero this patch and she's very popular, very successful, she is not
Radiant team pick.
as effective once the Spectre comes online in a lot of ways. I would expect them to go into a push-oriented strategy and to not focus too heavily on trying to go late. They need to have that backup plan for late, so the Venge 1 probably won't work, but Lifestealer is going to be there. That's a very mid-game oriented
Dire team
pick.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. They go back for the Lifestealer. This is something that we've seen from time to time in the NA Dota regions. I think that we saw some games yesterday where Toby was casting and he was losing his mind because BSJ ended up picking up a Lifestealer and just running around in Ancient Creeps. We'll see how it ends up going. I'm definitely curious.
The Lifestealer does, as you mentioned, get into those Ancient Creeps really early
10
and provide a
seconds
lot of
remaining.
potential for the push. The offside to that is that while Lifestealer is in the
5
creeps, he is
seconds
farming
remaining.
much more slowly than he would otherwise be farming, which, once again, that works against your advantage for the potential late game. So Lifestealer can be played into the late game, but is not how we see him played in the current.
No. Well, I'm very, very curious to see Uar on this hero, and if he opts to try and play it as a little bit more of the split pushing, trying to get those waves pushed out, or just the kind of bomb into open wounds and then just right-click people down to death.
Yeah.
Either route feels like it could be pretty strong, and I'm super freaking excited. For you, is there a team that you're favoring going into this? Is there sort of the same time we saw last time was an ease of execution that one team has over the other?
I think based on the two games that we saw earlier today, EverNovaS has the style of draft that both of these teams seem more comfortable and more capable of executing.
10 seconds
But I like
remaining.
Shazam's draft better in general, so I really do hope that they are able to
5
create
seconds
space for the
remaining.
Spectre, go in toward the later ends of the mid game without too much disadvantage, and come out at least competitive with this draft, so we can really see it at its full potential.
Oh, we're about to see Uar get hit in the butt with a Sunstrike. That hurts. As we also got the Tidehunter and the DP all lined up together and ready to head on out at the start of this game. So pretty interesting. I wonder, with this Lifestealer build, do you think that he's just going to try and stay consistently in a jungle and maybe try and kill the Darkseer? Is that what we're going to be seeing here with Way 2 moving in, or is this just going to be like jungle stacking time and roaming for fluff and stuff?
Yeah, open wounds doesn't stop the surge, right?
Yeah.
So a Lifestealer is not traditionally a very good hero to knock out a Darkseer. In fact, he's not a very good hero to lane into the Darkseer either, because Rage is a heavy portion of his mana pool at most stages of the laning phase, and it's the only way for him to really avoid this Ion Shell damage. So I think it's probably going to be a zoning game, trying to make sure that the double Ion Shell can't be led into the lane from the Darkseer, making sure that Brax is forced back into the jungle early. to open up space for this Life Stealer to really do his business in the lane. But it's not beyond the possibility, right, that a good Nightmare into a Magic Missile could lead to a dead Darkseer if he comes too far forward. It's just less likely than if they had a stun on there. Well.
Yeah, absolutely. He does do a lot of damage, and Feast is a pretty great spell in general, but it does feel like that Darkseer might have a little bit of an easy time, and that kind of feels almost like what's the word, like the batteries behind this entire combo that you've got here for Shazam. I mean, if you manage to find a really good vacuum wall together and hit one boulder smash in between those, you just win the team fight. Oh my goodness. This DP dropping the null tally in the river. Doing their best infamous impressions.
And very uneventful pre-game. They're going to break down into the lanes, as is very common for this stage in the metagame. Oh, wow. Is he actually going to get this?
He's going to at least go for the smoke play. Oh, the smoke play. They're not going to be able to find him. And looking for the catch, is he going to be able to get it? He gets one right click, needs another. Rolling Boulder is available if they want to go for it, and is going to be able to find... Oh, God, he's so slow he gets it. Oh, that hurts. Oh, yeah. DP is pissed.
She got her salve off of it. Wait, no, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
It said cargo worth 0, but it did have a salve on it. So,
consumables.
Yeah, more importantly, that means that there's no way for her. Oh, wow, she's also going to be moved on. It shouldn't be a kill, but it's just a pain in the butt. More importantly than not getting that salve, it means her bottle's not going to be coming out anytime soon unless one of the supports brings it to her, which is a next level of servitude.
Yeah, that really, really sucks. Brax bottom lane, they've switched it up. They're going to be sending the Tidehunter down here. So the response is to go aggro try, Way2 and Yawar, as well as now joining them, fluffing stuff up here top with his boots. And they're going to try and pressure TC on the Spectre. This is something that I feel like they didn't do enough in the previous game. And this might be the answer as far as being able to shut this down.
Yeah, I don't hate this, first of all, for the reasons that I talked about the Darkseer being really good into a Lifestealer in general, in terms of laning opposition. So this is a better lane for Lifestealer, but also because Lifestealer doesn't need as much farm to get going. Right? The Spectre needs a lot before her laning presence becomes a mid-game or late-game presence. Yawar only needs a handful of relatively cheap core items if he does go for a more mid-game centric build, and then he'll be fine. So even if his own farm is suffering, as long as his opponent's farm is suffering equivalently, he'll be happy to take advantage in the mid-game and try to sow some kills in from that advantage.
Oh wow. A nice steal of the rune. He's actually in a lot of trouble. They have a haste rune on Venge, and she's going to be able to chase this. Does have the clarity going, so she's going to have another stun in 6 seconds. They also have a sun... Oh, no, they're not going to. Of course they don't. Sunstrike is on Shazam. They're going to go for another hit here. The right clicks are going to be available, but can they actually find this kill in time? Brain Sap as well as a couple more. Fluff and stuff might have overextended, though, and he ends up going down 13 HP on SVG. Oh.
Venge is a good hero. I don't know if she's an Olympic diver, though. Like, that was way too deep. She was actually taking tier 2 damage. Maybe if she had cut down this tree and snaked past the tier 2 damage, but she took at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 shots from that tower. She's only got 522 health, right? With barely any physical damage resistance at this stage. It's just not... She can't be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pretty nice in the middle. We ended up missing it. Well, not missing it, but the Invoker and Earth Spirit tried to combo in together on the Death Prophet, and she actually ran into the Invoker so she wouldn't get hit by the Rolling Boulder, and then was able to escape with the Spirit Siphon. So again, just showing how maneuverable this hero is capable of making sure that ganks don't end up succeeding. It's been pretty good. I have been impressed so far with this DP's play throughout the whole course of this series, and he's been playing this hero every single time.
Yeah. Well, this is also a matchup that should be favorable for the Death Prophet. Remember, way back in Game 1, I'd been talking about the Death Prophet and how she prefers to run a lane into a non-bottle dependent hero because she gets uncontested rune. As we're complimenting her, she is losing all of her health. And has no bottle because she has no courier. The courier actually just respawned. And the bottle and salve is coming out, so she'll be at full health again soon.
She was baiting out the mana from the Invoker. It looks like they might actually try and make something happen here, man. I don't know if they're going to be able to. Fluff and stuff is in the area, but it's a little bit too difficult. One combo that we haven't talked about a ton, Earth Spirit with the Ion Shell on top of them, rolling bouldering into a Tide. It's going to be a lot of damage, and Tide might need to be a little bit careful here, as that 80% slow is pretty potent.
Yeah, Kraken Shell is not super great into a Darkseer.
Look over here, fluffing stuff, thinking about diving again, takes a tower shot and has to back out.
And once again, Death Prophet here in the mid lane is pressuring onto MSS, forcing out the last of his regen and doing a perfectly fine job. Now that she has her bottle, she should absolutely just control this lane.
Okay. Well, and meanwhile, up top, the battle of the two carries. TC currently at 16-0 versus the bottom lane. They're going to go on to Tide, actually. They're going to be able to get the Ion Shell here, but I think Brax might have overstayed his welcome slightly, as we do have way two rotating in the area. Can they get the Brain Sap out to be able to find the kill? The right clicks are there, and I think that they are. It's back up in 1 second, and there should be the kill. Maybe looking for it from afar, but not going to be able to find it. He does manage to get out of there and going to salve back up afterwards.
Boy, Magic Wand MVP, right?
Rolling Boulder forward. Demon going to end up dropping really low, but they don't manage to find the kill. He's going to survive. Too tanky right now. Wraparound, salve, really? SVG getting away. No, Bane finds the kill. Nicely played.
These teams are very confident with their supports. Boy, I think every support in this game has now... no, Dazzle. Jason has been very disciplined, but everybody else in this game has been out of their mind at some point in time or another. Just really, really greedy.
It's been a battle of the dives that we've been seeing, and occasionally it ends up working out, sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those things, though, that you never really know until you end up going for it, if you're going to be able to make it happen or not. So you got to admire the bravery on this side here.
Yeah.
As far as the net worth is concerned, though, we're seeing that the Invoker is currently top of the mark, and Darkseer right up there with him as well. So it's been a pretty good start for the side of EverNova and Shazam so far, but Shazam taking a little bit of that lead as we move into the end of the laning stage here. Is there anything that you're really looking for as this game goes on to be able to set these two teams apart from each other?
Yeah, even though Shazam are coming off to a little bit of a lead here, remember that EverNova, they just window earlier. So Shazam might have more gold, but the actionable impact of the gold for their opponents is going to be higher earlier. They don't need quite as much in order to get going. And also the Lifestealer is starting to pull ahead of the Spectre. Those are some factors to keep an eye on, especially as Death Prophet starts to move into level 6, level 7 or 8 once she gets her Exorcism up. And they start to knock down towers before the Spectre is really able to contribute burn.
Definitely. Well, that's going to be the question, is where's that first Exorcism going to go? It does look like they've got several heroes that are rotating up towards this top lane. The wave is pushing. TC is out front and center, and can they find this? DP is going to be able to scout it as they break the smoke and looking for afar. Can they find it, though? They've got vision. Wave of Terror goes, and it looks like TC might end up getting found here. They realize that he's stuck. I think that this is going to be a kill. Oh, there's the TP away. They can't get him.
Yeah,
that really hurts.
That was really, honestly, very sloppy, right? If the Vengeful Spirit had been allowed to lead and therefore gotten the magic missile out before the Death Prophet had popped the smoke or revealed the smoke, that's probably a kill. Because then you get the open wounds, you get the stun, you get the full duration Spirit Siphon with 2 extra charges as well, and you're going to get the Crypt Swarm. That is a lot more damage than just a Spirit Siphon and a couple right clicks.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And that's the thing that I feel like is always sort of a little bit sketchy. Actually, we're going to have way too in the middle of the trees, and he's going to get found out by MSS as well as SVG. That's going to be a kill. Don't worry, they glyphed, though, and they're going to try and TP back in the DP. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch anything.
Yeah, at least he's dying underneath something pretty, right? Shiny tower.
Exactly.
I'm a little worried for EverNovaS at this point. They do... Oh, bottom, I can tell it's an Ion Shell damage, just looking up at top. I couldn't see what was going on, but Tidehunter just lost half his health in like a quarter second.
Yeah, that's the fear right here. And you've got SVG that's in the area as well. If he gets off a pretty nice duration stun, they're actually looking up top for fluff and stuff, and they are going to be able to find him. They actually don't have any points in the poison touch, so I think that they still do find this kill. There's going to be the Sunstrike. Invoker gets in on the action, and a pretty nice pickup for them.
You see fluff and stuff stun a creep there.
Oh, no.
Instead of the Spectre. It wouldn't have saved his life if he had stunned the Spectre, but, you know, it would have been less embarrassing way to die, right?
Don't worry, nobody saw it. It's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good to go, I promise. Meanwhile, Demon's going to end up getting rotated in on the commit the haunt for it and find the kill. Now way too, a little bit too far forward. They're going to try and rotate in a couple more, but did they actually manage to find anybody? I don't think so. Brax is controlled for the moment, but I think that he's going to be the only one that they end up getting. He is the second highest in terms of net worth, but I might have spoken to you. Is he really just going to walk away from this? They managed to find the stun. He's going to run off the other direction. They drop down the wall of replicate. He's keeping them back for the moment, but I think that he is going to be all for naught as he ends up going down there.
Bane
Actually
is gonna be
hemmed in
trapped
Sunstrike? Are you kidding me?
Oh.
Way 2's gonna end up going down. Oh, Darkseer finds the kill.
Wow. there's no way that should work, right? That just goes to show Shazam are communicating throughout this entire series just a little bit better, right? Somebody else cut down this tree over here that allowed him to do that wraparound. It happened earlier on in the game. So the fact that he knew off the top of his head that his ally had cut down that tree earlier on,
Right.
that by itself is one of those little impressive moments of just awareness in the map. The Invoker getting the Sunstrike there as well, and Darkseer willing to commit to wall on the off chance that Fluff is going to allow himself to stand in it long enough for the Sunstrike to get the kill. A lot of things turn that from a really bad exchange for Shazam into an alright exchange.
Yeah. Well, and it looks like now EverNova are going to try and take something back for themselves. They've got Ravage up. They've got Bane's Fiend Grip up. If they need to, they can take something. They're actually going to go up top, though, and there's literally nobody up here. So that kind of hurts, and I guess that they try and wrap around and see if they can find somebody. Everybody's in the bottom or mid lane.
I really do feel like Fluff and Stuff has been playing pretty well this series, but this game specifically, it feels like he's maybe a bit tilted or distracted, and he is the in-game shot caller. Maybe he's focusing just a little too much on what his allies are doing and not enough on himself. But for whatever case, he's consistently being caught in slightly off-putting positions, just a little bit, and it hasn't been like him through this series.
Yeah, I would kind of agree. I mean, it's been a little bit of a tough one. I think all around for EverNovaS, like, it's not been the type of game, and I think the start that they wanted to get off to. I mean, losing that courier right at the start is the beginning of it. Now they're going to be able to find and kill off the DP. She went for the TP, but not going to be able to get out of there in time. It looks like they might be able to find another one, reapplying the Magnetize there with the rock drop down. Can they find another one? Way 2 getting controlled, backing back, and he is going to be able to, yeah, they go down. He went for the deny, but didn't get the animation off in time. Another 2 heroes dead, and it looks like they're just gonna be able to take mid. This is just well executed fights by Shazam.
TC cannot be making a bigger impact than the Life Stealer at this stage in the game. Like, you just can't be allowing that. It's a Spectre. It's a Spectre that you tri-laned into. You absolutely have to be shutting down that impact. And right now, the Life Stealer is doing the slow Ancient Black Dragon farming. And remember I said in the draft, it helps your push a lot to have those Ancients, but it really slows down your farm potential as a Life Stealer. He's going to dip well behind the Spectre if he plays this game too long with these Ancients without actually getting structures for it.
Yeah, I would agree. It's tough though, because, like, again, he's almost going to be able to pick up that Radiance. It's slow farm, but it does mean that he's at least going to be not very gankable. I mean, if he continues to sit in the Ancient Black Dragon with 42 HP, he's going to be gankable, but you get what I'm talking about. Like, he's actually got another one here he's going to be able to take now. So you are going to be able to do that, and looks like they might be able to take a tier 1 tower off the back of it. Like, he's almost got his relic, so things aren't terrible.
Shazam are doing a really good job of trying to control out this Life Stealer, though. For one thing, they dropped a sentry on this camp. Usually when you see this Life Stealer push strategy, that often even goes into a Radiance Ancients push, right? A big component of that is that the supports will stack the Ancient so that there's always an Ancient Black Dragon available.
Yeah.
The more Ancient stacks you have available, the more likely, statistically, you're going to have another Ancient Black Dragon ready. And already EverNova's become keen on that and try to counter it out, but they do have to spend 2 sentry wards to make sure that they have this camp, and they don't even get the... So, nice little play from Shazam.
Yeah, that was taken earlier. I think that it was a 5, maybe even a 6 stack that Tidehunter was able to take to get himself closer towards that, his arcane boots and everything else. And this is actually a huge play right now. If they could find TC here, this is potentially game turning for them. They are going to be able to get off the Fiend's Grip on SVG, but they did not scout out the rest of the side of Shazam here, and it looks like they're going to move down. I think that TC does get out, but Jason, can they find him? I don't think so.
That's a collapse potential onto this tower as well. Lifestealer's not down here. He's still chilling in his Ancient Black Dragon up here, just playing his own game. But away from his Game Boy, the world moves on, and Exorcism is available for this tower push.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I am honestly really surprised at the lack of Exorcism pressure that we've been seeing so far this game.
It is a little bit interesting. I guess the one thing that I would say is, well, you don't really, you do want to be continuing pressure. It's against the Spectre. I was going to say that maybe they're holding out for a later stage. They've always got the Exorcism available to defend.
Look at this Forge Spirit blocking the camp so it can't be stacked.
Oh, what a punk.
What a player coming out from MSS. To take away my ward, I'll just move a unit over there. It doesn't matter to me.
That's frustrating indeed. Well, yeah, I guess that you've still got the Exorcism available to take the fight that you want, but like we haven't seen a Ravage, we haven't seen a really effective Exorcism as of it, as you mentioned. They are looking down here for Jason, but I think that he does escape. He's almost within gush range, and Tide is a little bit quicker. He's not going to go for it. They back out.
The Spectre now is 3-0-1. The Lifestealer is 0-0-0. Lifestealer has been farming about as slowly as he possibly can be because the Ancient Black Dragon has a lower attack speed and also a lower damage than he has. And he has not been able to split push down any health off of this tier 2 tower, even though he spent all of his time up here. So this Ancient strategy, so far, has not been working. Whether or not it's going to turn around for them, I don't know, but Spectre has been making a much bigger impact. And right now, they are just buddy-buddy up here, farming right next to each other, and they're just going to ignore each other for the most part.
I really do feel, though, that he's waiting for that Radiance to come online before he really tries to make anything happen, because and that's maybe one of the faults of this draft, but if they do manage to hit a really good timing there and start to take towers, then you could say it's worth it, but at this point in time, like, it's the weak point of their draft, I think.
Spectre's going to have a Diffusal well before he has Radiance, so at least at this pace. And if he is farming up the Radiance, I realize that the Ancient Black Dragon gives him more survivability to be out way too far. Like, much farther out of his own territory than he otherwise would be able to do safely. But he does farm faster if he just goes into his own jungle and utilizes his much higher natural attack speed and damage.
Yeah. So a little bit upset.
No, I lied. There were some components already purchased, so his Radiance is done.
Yeah, he got it on the recipe on the courier there. He's not using his damage anyways from the relic, so whatever, it's fine. Actually, he's gonna have to take a Thunderhide Lizard, unfortunately, and yeah. So it begins. Radiance Lifestealer.
TC's still gonna have this Diffusal up pretty soon, though.
Yeah.
And they invested a lot into this strategy, so they absolutely need to be knocking down towers very quickly with this and making sure that it is impacting their opponent's ability to access the map. So otherwise, they are just going to continue to fall behind. The Invoker is 1,000 net worth ahead of the Lifestealer. The Spectre is 200 gold net worth ahead of the Lifestealer. And everybody else on Lifestealer's team is 5 of the bottom 6.
Well, here it comes as the push is going to start to begin. Demon takes the tower a little bit. They got the Frenzy, so the right clicks are going to come a little bit more quickly from the Ancient Thunderhide. It does look like they're going to try and cut this out, and the whole time, like, you see the immediate response here from Shazam. Pushing in the bottom tier 2, they're pushing in the top tier 1 by TC. They are going to be able to take this with the Exorcism, but do you think that this was worth it to pop the Exorcism for this?
Well, they had to because they're being split pushed, but they're absolutely getting the rough end of this trade. This is highway robbery. They're going to get a tier 2 and an Exorcism for most of a tier 2 bottom and a tier 1 top, probably.
Oh, Demon! He did jump forward into that, so keep it alive. It's the little silver linings across the board that they end up taking. Ancient Granite Golem is going to end up being taken over by the Lifestealer, so again, getting pretty good movement speed.
Why did TC run away from top when 4 heroes just teleported bottom? Like, TC should be taking this tower by all rights. It's his complete safety moment. He TP'd all the way back to the fountain for his defusal, and he could have had the courier bring it out and knock down that tower. Do you understand that move? Was it just paranoia, or am I missing something?
He had his diffusal blade already up and ready to go. I don't completely understand it, but then again, I wasn't exactly watching that area, so I'm not sure. And he's going to be able to haunt in now, so makes up for it in a quick succession. They actually get the Yule Scepter up, which is still going to end up meaning the DP goes down. Unfortunately, the rest of the team just not there in time, and now TC might have overextended a little bit. They do get the Fiend's Grip from afar. They've got Ravage if they need to pop it for this, and they are going to be able to connect onto several, but the Shallow Grave is going to keep TC away, and he runs away very quickly from that one. Now they don't have those big ultimates up and online. They don't have an Exorcism. They have the Radiance Burn, but is it going to be enough? Way too trying to stay alive with the Brain Sap, but it's not going to be there. They do manage to kill off Demon. Brax dropping low. Ancient Granite Golem just uppercutting Brax as much as he can. He pops out, kills another one. Yawar's going to try and TP away. It does look like he's going to be able to escape, but man, it costs them a lot.
Yeah, this is what I was just talking about, where yeah, the Radiance did come out a little bit before the defusal, but Spectre is doing a really good job of keeping up in terms of her impact in this game. She's now 4-0-4. She's gotten a good amount of farm. The team fights are pretty heavily flowing the way of Shazam, and this cheese strategy does not go as late as just a normal Spectre strategy does for EverNovaS. So I am a little concerned about EverNovaS right now. Like, they are not making the impact that they need to be making at this stage in the game.
Well, and everything just gets a hell of a lot more difficult now. You've got Invoker who just picked up the Aegis. I'm a little surprised they didn't put it on TC. I mean, Invoker is the one that does more right now, but I feel like if you just... In this game, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but do you think that Shazam can just kind of, like, if they keep Spectre alive, win?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's more complicated than that, obviously. Right. There's a little more to it, but basically...
Yeah, they have to press R. It's tough.
They have to press R. They have to keep the Spectre alive. You know, they have to keep their Rax alive, too, because Spectre is not a hero that deals with supers particularly well, especially if she doesn't go for the Radiance. She's got no AoE clear. She's got Dispersion, but that's not really super great against creeps because they don't actually do that much physical damage, right? Mm-hmm. So, if an early lane of Rax goes down for EverNovaS, that buys them some time into the late game where it's just a pain in the butt to be pressured into those supers without any really good wave clear.
Speaking of pressing R, they've got a vacuum wall that's going to come up pretty shortly here, and they do manage to actually only throw it onto the DP, but it doesn't matter. They're just dropping too low, 15 seconds before Ravage, but it wouldn't even be worth it at this point. Fluff and Stuff does manage to get out, but they lose 3. Oh, and Invoker on the other side finds the kill. Was that in found? Sunstrikes abound. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Shazam have just been really executing these team fights this game to a really impressive level, right? And for EverNovaS, this is sort of inevitable if you don't get this sort of cheesy strategy off the ground right away. If you don't farm as fast as you possibly can to get that advantage early, you don't have a lot of fallbacks. Mm-hmm. There's just not... The strategy is not built for diversity. It's built for dominance in a very specific setting. And EverNovaS have not done a very good job of making sure that they have the right soil for that seed.
And the game only gets harder from here as well. Like you talk about there, being able to find that moment where you're going to be able to be most effective as a team. And you look at it, you've got Guardian Greaves that are going to be completed pretty soon for Darkseer, which means all that Radiance Bird damage gets mitigated very, very rapidly. Yeah. You've got, even if you think about the way that it works where you're able to get a lot of damage out and then maybe tickle somebody to death with the Radiance Burn, that's not going to happen as easily either because you get that extra HP regen when you're low HP under Guardian Greaves aura. Like all of these things start to work together and compound upon the problems within EverNova's draft, and I don't know at this stage in the game how you try and get back into it. They're going to swap and actually catch MSS here. If they can find the kill and burn through the Aegis, this would be a good start, but he's just taking no damage. He does end up finally falling. Can they kill him a second time, though? They've got Ravage available if they're thinking about popping it. Demon does move forward. Do they end up going for it? They are. It's going to catch on to 2. SVG, they're all silenced up. Actually going to be able to walk away from it, though. And the Guardian Greaves come in time. I think this might be enough. The chase is going to continue for MSS trying to kill him, but they just don't quite have the damage. The sun from afar, the turnaround. Shazam is going to be able to walk away with this one, so they lose the Dazzle, but they don't kill the Invoker. Oh, man, that was a lot committed for that.
Yeah, that was the first devastating miss for this Earthquake. SVG has really been on point. He's been a little bit off on his parallax for a couple of his skills, but it never to the point where his team really suffered for it. But missing that stun silence combo on the Tidehunter just lost him the fight. Or arguably the Tidehunter just won the fight for his own team, right? Demon being in there and getting that, what was a 3-man Ravage in the middle, without even having a Blink Dagger and being able to get in. A really nice execution here from the Radiant side.
It was nice, but I kind of like. Do you feel like they got enough out of this though? Like they popped Exorcism, they popped Ravage for that, and they only killed the Dazzle and burned through the. I guess burning through the Aegis is pretty worth it.
Yeah, even just killing the Dazzle. I mean, that's obviously better than nothing, right? For the first time this game, they have stemmed bleeding even, which doesn't sound like a lot because you're stemming it at 10,000 net worth deficit, but we're talking about 3 minutes now where they haven't actually lost any goals.
Well, that might change very rapidly, as it looks like DP's going to end up going down too quickly dead. They get Demon on the other side, and no ability in the world is going to keep him alive at this point, as Dazzle ends up finding the last kill. He wanted a little bit of revenge and came back and took it for himself. Now it looks like the bottom tier 3 tower is where eyes are going to be, as a nice little easy 2,100 gold swing.
Yeah! Once again, it's just that you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket when you're doing this cheesy lifestealer strategy, especially at this level of play, right? It works really well for a lot of high-level pub players, but one of the reasons it works really well in that case is because the communication is not as good in pubs as it is in pros, right? Those aren't players that are playing together all the time. I cast the Collegiate Star League, which is like an intermary league between like high-level 82L or high-level pub matches and actual pro matches, and we actually see this a fair amount, and it's right on the border of effective in the Collegiate Star League, because those are teams that are communicating together, but their communication skills and individual play skills are not quite as good as in pros. You don't see this work that often in professional games. Alliance makes it work once in a while. Sometimes Banana Slam Jamma makes it work, but it fails much more often than it succeeds for all of the reasons that we've been seeing so far.
Well, and at this point, it does feel like the word of the day that we were talking about earlier is agency, and it feels all but lost at this point for the side of EverNovaS. Aegis is going to be a little while before it responds, so that's some small semblance of victory for them, as maybe they're going to be able to pull their way back into it, but by the same token, you're also looking at a lineup that doesn't scale incredibly well into the late game. I don't know. It feels very, very rough at this stage to try and find any way to get back into it. And I mean, I'm trying to look right now. Do they have any smokes? I actually don't think that they have any.
No, it's going to be about 4 minutes before they can get another one.
Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, no, excuse me. It's 4 minutes for the Dire. It's 9 minutes for the Radiant.
Oh, jeez. Well, they just used one.
Agency,
All right, one of them was on the Courier, so they are going to be able to make something happen. That helps at least a little bit, and they're going to run right into Brax. Does he blink away? God, no! Oh, when it rains, it pours. So that's going to be EverNova just walking away, or rather, Shazam walking away.
Back to that 9 minutes that we were just talking about. Effectively, no smoke there. The one nice thing that they have going for them, they don't necessarily go late game as well as their opponents do, but it's always possible that your opponents just botch a couple team fights, and even though your draft does not theoretically go late as hard, right, you still end up being able to take an advantage and take the game. Shazam are going to be able to do this, but usually this sort of draft is going to do it kind of slowly. They don't have a lot of tower siege potential. They just have a lot of slow siege potential with the Dazzle, with the Spectre. The Invoker's really the only hero that they have that actually knocks down towers relatively well. So, you know, it's pick your pitch time for the Radiant side. They're going to have a couple of minutes here to really pick a moment and try to swing this game back into their favor, and it's all about finding the optimum time.
And when that optimal time comes, again, you've got a lot of great teamfight spells for EverNovaS. You've got the Ravage. You've got Swap to try and pull somebody out of position, or potentially get your DP back into position so she can survive and pop Exorcism. Like, there's all of these pieces that can fit back together. It's just a matter of making it all work. And likewise, the problem that you face is that Shazam has a lot of those pieces as well. They've got the vacuum into the, Earth Spirit stuns and silences, and Haunt as well. They're going to end up going for a big old smoke around the top lane here, and maybe they're trying to try and just bum rush this tower a little bit. They could go for it, or they could try and go for a play onto Demon over at the Ancients. This is also a viable option if they want to. They actually spot him out right now? They don't.
Something's gonna happen here sooner or later.
Oh, the 3-person stun in silence! They're all gonna die, just instantaneously evaporated, jumping onto Demon, and there's the Diffusal Blade as well. Oh god, tries to TP and ends up getting canceled out, and he's gonna die as well. Oh god, it doesn't get a whole lot worse than that. And the whole time through, eyes on the prize, Brax is up front and center and taking down the tier 3 tower.
I think that might be strike 3 on picking the pitch for Radiant side. Yeah, they're going to have to call the GG. They just didn't have a good opportunity to really find a team fight in their favor once they started to slide too much control the way of TC on the Spectre.
God, that was about the best initiation. I mean, if you walk into a hero like Earth Spirit like that, it's just not going to go well. And granted, there was no way that fight was ever going to go well for EverNovaS. They'd been building a lead all game, but they end up being able to take it in the end. Shazam, move on. That was our final series of the day. If you feel so inclined, follow us on Twitter at LyricalDota, at the Wonder.